My name is Lucas. I'm 24, a graphic designer who works remotely from Star Beach. And never, ever did I imagine that a simple invitation to watch a meteor shower would completely destabilize everything I thought I knew about myself, about friendship, and about what I felt when I looked into his eyes. Raphael, 26, a marine biologist. Dark, intense eyes and a natural masculinity that made me question things I'd never allowed myself to question before. We met 3 weeks ago when he approached me while I was photographing tide pools. Since then, we saw each other almost every day. Walks, coffee, easy conversations, but there was something more. Something that made my chest tighten every time he brushed his arm against mine or held my gaze a second longer. I tried to ignore it, convincing myself it was just friendship. But I was about to find out that ignoring the inevitable is impossible. But then, this morning, my phone buzzed. A message from him. "Lucas, are you free tonight? The Geminids peak between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. I want to take you to see them. Just the two of us. At that spot on the beach where we met. I have something I want to show you." I read the message 3 times. Just the two of us. I have something I want to show you. My heart jumped. I tried to convince myself that friends watched meteors together all the time, but something in my gut told me this was different. I picked up my phone again. I typed the reply. "Sure. What time?" I sent it before overthinking, before questioning, before giving myself a chance to make excuses. His reply came quickly. 10 p.m. Bring a blanket. It will be cold. And prepare your heart to see something beautiful. Prepare your heart. That echoed in my head all day. I was building expectations, but deep down, I already knew. I liked Raphael, not just as a friend. That terrified me. I'd never felt this way about a guy before. All my past relationships with women had felt hollow, like I was playing a part in someone else's story. But with Raphael, it was real, intense, completely different. What if he noticed? What if I ruined everything? Or what if it wasn't just me? I put on a thick sweatshirt, took the warmest blanket I had, put my phone in my pocket, looked in the mirror. My reflection looked back. Nervous eyes, restless hands fixing the curly hair I'd tied into a messy bun. "It'll be fine," I murmured to myself. But I didn't believe it. Little did I know that that night would destroy any definition of fine I'd ever known. I left the house at 9:45 p.m. The beach was just 10 minutes away. The night air was crisp, carrying that sharp ocean salt smell I'd always loved. The sky was impossibly clear, not a single cloud. Perfect for stargazing, perfect for this. As I got closer to the spot where we'd met, I began to make out a silhouette. He was already there, sitting on a large towel spread on the sand, looking up at the sky. He turned when he heard my steps. "Lucas," he smiled, that smile that made my stomach flip. "Hey." My voice came out deeper than usual. I came early to secure the best viewing spot. He tapped the towel beside him. "Come, sit here." I moved closer. I spread my blanket next to his towel, sat down. The sea was calm, waves gently lapping the shore. The sky above us was an endless blanket of stars. The Milky Way visible, bright, cutting across the horizon. "Amazing, right?" he said, looking up. "We forget how vast the universe is, how small our problems are compared to all of this." True. I looked up at the sky too. I tried to focus on the stars, but all I could feel was his proximity, the warmth of his body inches from mine. His scent, a mix of sunscreen and something I couldn't identify. Something that was just his. "Thanks for coming," he said, turning his face toward me. "I wanted to share this with you." Our eyes met. And there, in that instant, under the starry sky, something shifted. Something moved. I felt it. I knew he felt it too. And there was no denying it anymore. Something was about to happen. Something I'd been avoiding admitting for 3 whole weeks. And maybe, just maybe, I was ready to find out what it was. The time felt suspended. Raphael was lying beside me, so close I could feel his body heat. Another meteor sliced across the sky. His hand touched mine. It wasn't accidental. His fingers found mine and intertwined. I didn't move, afraid to break the moment. My heart raced. The silence was heavy, full of unspoken things. I turned my head. He was looking at the sky, but there was tension in his jaw. Was he feeling the same fear I was? He didn't let go of my hand. All that existed was that moment, that warmth. Raphael turned his face to me. Our eyes met with an intensity words couldn't reach. My breath caught in my throat. He opened his mouth like he was going to speak, closed it, opened it again. And finally, in a voice lower than usual, softer, he said, "Can I tell you something?" Then he went quiet, waiting, looking at me with those dark eyes that I felt could see through all the layers of protection I'd built up over my life. I couldn't answer. I just nodded, slowly, heart pounding so hard I was sure it would burst, and his hand was still in mine. He took a deep breath. I could feel his chest rising and falling, even lying there side by side. His hand still in mine, as if he were preparing for something, as if every second of silence was needed to gather courage. And then he spoke. His voice lower than before, softer, more fragile in a way I had never heard from him. "I never really fit into the usual expectations," he said, his voice fragile. "I always felt kind of on the sidelines." "Makes sense," I whispered, more than I wanted to admit. He turned his body toward me, squeezing my hand. "And you? Have you ever felt that? That everyone expects one thing from you, but inside you feel something else?" "I do," I admitted out loud for the first time. "All the time." He waited, giving me space. "All my relationships always felt empty," I continued, my voice trembling. Like I was following a script. I thought something was wrong with me, that I was incapable of feeling. "Or maybe you were just feeling for the wrong people," he said, almost inaudible. I froze, because yes, that was exactly it. But hearing it out loud, coming from him, made everything feel so obvious, so clear, so terrifyingly real. "Maybe." I whispered it back, and then we stayed there, silent again. But it wasn't the tension-filled quiet from earlier in the night. It felt different now, heavier, denser, as if we'd just opened a door neither of us knew how to close, and maybe we didn't even want to. I could feel his breathing. I could see his chest rise and fall. I could feel the warmth of his hand in mine, his thumb making slow circles on my skin, a motion so small he might not even realize he was doing it. I froze. It was exactly that. I was attracted to Raphael. It wasn't just friendship. It was pure, intense, frightening attraction. But what if he didn't feel the same? What if I was misreading everything? The fear of ruining everything paralyzed me. So I said nothing, just held his hand, trying to decipher the silence. And then, out of nowhere, he changed completely. As if he noticed the conversation was getting too serious, too heavy, too dangerous. He let out a laugh. Light, almost forced. "Man, we're getting too deep here," he said with that familiar smile he always put on when he wanted to dodge something serious. "Soon we'll be debating the meaning of life and the purpose of the universe." I tried to smile back, tried to follow the shift in tone, but something inside me was screaming not to let him run away, not to let this moment pass without reaching its end. "Raphael," I began, trying to bring the seriousness back. "When you say you never fit into expectations, do you mean that?" "Hey, look," he interrupted, pointing at the sky. "Another meteor, and that one was huge." I looked up. Yeah, it was huge. Beautiful even. But that's not what was on my mind. I was thinking about how he'd just dodged my question, how he'd used a joke to change the subject, how he was definitely avoiding saying what he wanted to say. And that frustrated me and scared me, because maybe I really was reading everything wrong. Maybe he wasn't trying to tell me what I thought he was trying to say. Maybe I was building expectations where I shouldn't. But then he turned to me again, and the smile was gone, and that intensity was back. That look that left me completely exposed. "It's getting colder," he said, his voice serious again. "Want to go to the cabin? We can keep watching from there. There's a huge window that faces the sky, and it's warmer." The way he said that, the pause before "it's warmer," the way his eyes didn't leave mine, the way his hand still held mine. Everything about it felt like a question much bigger than about temperature or comfort. I knew saying yes would change everything. I knew that stepping into his cabin, that private, enclosed space, would push everything that was happening between us to a point of no return. I knew I was at a crossroads where I couldn't play pretend anymore. Couldn't keep avoiding this. Couldn't run from what I was feeling. But I also knew I didn't want to escape. Not anymore. Not after finally admitting the truth to myself. So I nodded, slowly, holding his gaze. "Let's go," I said. And when he smiled, when he gave my hand one final squeeze before letting go, when he stood and reached down to pull me up, I felt my heart pounding in a way that had absolutely nothing to do with the cold, or meteors, or friendship. It had to do with possibility, with desire, with the terrifying hope that maybe, just maybe, he felt the same. And as we walked across the sand toward his cabin, side by side, shoulders almost touching, I wondered what would happen when we got there. What would happen in that enclosed space, in that closeness, in that silence now loaded with everything we'd said and everything we didn't have the courage to say. The cabin door was just ahead, the warm porch light illuminating the path, and with each step, I felt the tension rise, the anticipation grow, fear and excitement blending into something I couldn't name. I only knew that something was about to change, and that, for the first time in my life, I was letting it happen. The cabin was simple, with large glass windows facing the ocean. Research equipment and maps filled the space. He turned on a soft light. It was a private, intimate place. Raphael grabbed 2 bottles of water, sat down on the small sofa, and patted the spot next to him. "Here, sit with me." I sat down. So close our shoulders almost touched. So close I could feel the warmth of his body radiating even through our 2 layers of clothing. So close that, if I turned my head, my face would be inches from his. I didn't turn. He opened the water, took a long sip, then rested his elbows on his knees, looking out the window into the darkness beyond. For a moment, we just stayed there, in silence. The sound of the waves hitting the rocks below was like a steady beat, a rhythm that seemed to sync with my racing heart. "You actually want to hear about my work?" he said suddenly, his voice low. "Or were you just making conversation?" I looked at him, surprised. "No, I really do. You light up when you talk about it. I like seeing you that way." He turned his head to me, and this time I didn't look away. His eyes were so intense in the cabin's yellow light, dark, deep, as if he was trying to read something in me that I wasn't sure was even there. "Okay," he said, his voice even lower. "I'll show you." He walked over to the cluttered table and came back with a worn, hardcover notebook. The spine was creased, pages marked with colorful sticky notes, salt stains on the edges. He sat down beside me again, but this time even closer, the notebook open between us, resting in the tiny space between our legs. "This is my field journal," he said, flipping through the pages with those expressive hands I had learned to watch. "Here I record everything. Water temperatures, salinity levels, migration patterns of fish, changes in the reef ecosystem. It's my life condensed on paper." I leaned in closer to see better. The pages were covered in his handwriting, firm and slanted, technical notes, tables, hand-drawn graphs. But that wasn't what caught my attention. It was the rest. In the margins, among the scientific data, there were drawings, small pencil sketches, a seagull in flight, a crab crossing the sand, the outline of a breaking wave, a boat on the horizon. And then, Turning another page, I saw me. It was a simple drawing, but unmistakable. My profile. Dark hair tied in a messy bun. The line of my nose. The shape of my lips. I was looking at the horizon, the same posture I probably had every time we walked the beach together. My heart stopped. Then it raced so fast I was sure he would hear it. I couldn't take my eyes off the drawing. I couldn't process it. Couldn't understand why he had drawn me. Why I was there, in that notebook, alongside his scientific records, next to the things that mattered to him. Why me? Raphael was silent beside me. I felt his body tense. He knew I had seen, and he wasn't trying to hide it. When did you draw this? My voice came out hoarse, almost a whisper. He took a while to answer. When he finally spoke, his voice was different, more vulnerable, as if he was peeling off a layer of protection he always wore. A few weeks ago, after that long walk we took to Lighthouse Rock, you stood there staring at the sea for maybe 5 minutes, completely lost in thought. And I couldn't stop staring at you. I turned to him, and the closeness hit me like a punch. He was so near, eyes fixed on mine, breath slightly quickened, and I could see everything. The hesitation, the courage, the fear, the desire. I draw things that matter to me, Lucas. He said my name as if it were a confession. Things I want to remember. Things I don't want to forget, even when all this is over. When all this is over. Those words hit me like a punch, because it was true. He was only here temporarily. His research had an end date. Eventually he'd leave. And we'd never once talked about that. Never faced the fact that this, whatever this was, had an expiration date. But now he was saying he wanted to remember me. I didn't know what to say. The words got stuck in my throat. So I did the only thing I could. I kept looking at him. Let him see everything I was feeling, the confusion, the hope, the terrifying fear that maybe, just maybe, this was exactly what I thought it was. The silence stretched between us, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was heavy, laden, as if the cabin's air had become denser, warmer, harder to breathe. He shut the notebook slowly, but instead of pulling back, he moved even closer. His shoulder was against mine now. His leg touched mine, and I could feel the warmth radiating off him, even through both our layers of clothing. He raised his hand. For a terrifying and wonderful second, I thought he was going to touch me, that he would put his hand on my face, that he would break that last barrier between us. But he didn't. Instead, he raked his hand through his hair, took a sharp breath, and stood up fast, like he needed to put distance between us before something happened. I stayed seated, still processing, still feeling the ghost of his warmth beside me. "We should go back outside," he said, and his voice sounded strange, tight, like he was holding himself back. "The meteor shower peak should be happening right now. We're going to miss it." I stood too, my legs unsteady, my heart hammering against my ribs. I didn't want to leave that cabin. I wanted to stay in that charged space, in that closeness, and see what would happen if we let go. But he was already moving toward the door, grabbing a folded blanket from the chair, and I had no choice but to follow him. He opened the door, and the cold night air rushed into the cabin, sharp against my warmed skin. I stepped out after him, and we started walking back toward the beach, side by side, in silence. But the silence was different now. It was full of things left unsaid, full of tension, full of possibility. And then he stopped. Right there, between the cabin and the beach. He stopped, turned to me, and his eyes burned with an intensity that made me want to take a step back. "Lucas," there was my name, said like that, like a confession, like a plea. "There's something I need to tell you." He took a breath, his eyes searching mine. Out here, under the stars, my stomach dropped. Anticipation, fear, wild, desperate hope. "What?" I barely got the word out. He smiled, but it was nervous, vulnerable, nothing like his usual confidence. "Just trust me, okay? Please." And I trusted him. Because in that moment, under the moonlight, With the sound of the waves and the weight of everything we hadn't said yet, I would have followed him anywhere. We kept walking, and with each step the tension climbed. What was he going to say? Why did the stars matter? Why now? And why did I already know deep down that after tonight, everything would change? The sand was cold under my bare feet. We'd come back to the beach, but this time, it felt different. Everything did. Raphael didn't say anything during the walk. Neither did I. But the silence between us wasn't empty. It was dense, charged, as if every step we took toward that beach was carrying us somewhere with no return. When we arrived, the blankets were still there, exactly as we had left them, as if they had been waiting for us. Raphael lay down first, looking up at the sky. I hesitated for a second, just a second, before lying down beside him. So close I could feel his body heat even with the cold sea breeze. The sky was absolutely spectacular. The Geminids' meteor shower was at its peak. Streaks of light cut across the sky every few seconds, some so bright they lit up the whole beach for a fleeting moment. It was beautiful, surreal, like the whole universe was putting on a show just for us. But I could hardly focus on the stars, because everything in me was focused on him, on his breathing, on the way his chest rose and fell, on his arm so close to mine that I felt his skin brush against mine with every tiny movement. See that one? Raphael pointed at the sky, but I didn't follow his finger. I was looking at him instead, at his profile in the starlight, at the intensity in those dark eyes looking up into the distance. Yeah, I lied. He smiled. A small, sad smile, like he knew I was lying. And then it happened. The brightest meteor I'd ever seen tore across the sky. A blast of light so intense that for a second the night turned to day. The whole beach lit up. The sea, the sand, his face. And right then, in that burst of light, he turned toward me. Lucas. He whispered my name. It wasn't casual like before. It wasn't just a word. It was intimate, raw. Like he was saying so much more than my name. Like he was saying everything. My heart stopped. I swear it stopped for a whole second. There's something I need to tell you. His voice was low, almost hoarse. And I can't keep this to myself anymore. I couldn't speak. My throat was closed. Everything in me was taut, waiting, dying of fear and hope at the same time. He took a breath. I didn't come here just for the research, he said, his eyes locked on mine. I came for you. The world stopped. What? I found your photos online, the way you capture light, solitude. I knew I had to meet you. The research was just an excuse. The truth is, I wanted to get to know you. My hands trembled. Why? He squeezed my hand. Because I'm gay, Lucas. And from that first conversation, I could tell you were dealing with the same stuff I was. Tears stung my eyes. I blinked, trying to hold them back, but it was useless. I didn't want to pressure you. He held my hand tighter. I didn't want to be that guy who shows up and messes with your life when you're still figuring yourself out. So I waited. I stayed close. I tried being your friend first, because I wanted you ready for the truth. Ready for what? I asked, my voice trembling. For this, he said, his eyes wet too. To accept what's real. The way you look at me. How your body responds when we're close. How your breathing changes when I'm near. That's not friendship, Lucas. It never was. A tear ran down my face. Then another. And another. Because he was right. About everything. I'd spent weeks telling myself it was just admiration. Just a special friendship. That my heart racing when he smiled was normal. That thinking about him before sleep, imagining his touch, his lips, was just confusion. But it wasn't confusion. It was attraction. Desire. Something much bigger and scarier than I was ready to admit. And he knew. The whole time, he knew. I'm scared, I whispered, my voice cracking. I don't know who I am. I don't know what this means. I don't. You don't have to know everything right now, Raphael interrupted gently. You just need to know what you feel. Here, now. With me. He lifted his other hand to my face, his thumb brushing away a tear. His touch was so gentle, so careful that more tears came. I'm terrified of ruining this, I whispered. Of losing you. You won't lose me, he promised, and the certainty in his voice almost made me believe it. I came here for you, Lucas. I've waited weeks for you. I'm not going anywhere. Another meteor shot across the sky, then another, bright streaks lighting the darkness like silent fireworks. But I barely noticed, because all I could see was him, Raphael, with those intense eyes full of truth and patience and something that felt very, very much like love. And for the first time in my life, I let the words I was afraid to say take shape. I like you, I said, barely a whisper. So much it terrifies me. I think about you constantly, when I wake up, when I fall asleep, and when you touch me, everything makes sense, finally. The smile that lit his face was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. More beautiful than any meteor. More beautiful than any sunset I'd ever photographed. I like you too, he said, his voice thick with feeling. So much. Always have. We lay there, side by side, hands locked together. Everything had shifted. The person I'd been hours ago was gone. I knew the truth now. And whatever came next, whatever uncertainty lay ahead, I felt whole. Complete. Raphael was right there with me. I don't know who I am, I whispered, voice tight. All I know is that with you, everything makes sense. But I'm scared of what this means, of messing it all up. Lucas. He said my name, his voice heavy with emotion. My eyes burned. You don't need all the answers right now. You don't need any answers. You just need to be here with me. Right now. I looked at him, saw so much patience there. So much understanding. Like he knew exactly what was running through my mind. Because he'd lived it too. You waited for me. Not a question, a statement. All these weeks you just waited for me to see it. Admit it. He smiled, a small, slightly sad smile. I knew you needed time. I saw you struggling with it, questioning yourself, and I just waited. Because some things can't be rushed. Some things need to happen at the right time. Thank you. A whisper. For waiting. For not pushing. For really seeing me. I've always seen you, Lucas. From that first talk at the tide pools, really seen you. It was then that the last barrier between us crumbled. Then he leaned in slowly, giving me every chance to pull back. I didn't. For the first time, I knew exactly what I wanted. I closed my eyes. His lips touched mine, soft and careful, tentative, almost afraid. But when I kissed him back, when my hand found the back of his neck and pulled him close, something broke open. The kiss deepened, became real, became everything. In that moment, salt on my lips, waves in my ears, stars burning above, everything fell into place. All of it made sense suddenly. This was the truth I'd been running from, being exactly where I belonged, with him, with Raphael. When we broke apart, we were breathless. His forehead rested against mine, our breath mixing in the cool night. Wow, he whispered, and I laughed, shaky but real. Yeah, wow. We stayed like that. Time stretched out and compressed at once. Just feeling, just being. Words weren't needed. Eventually we lay back down on the sand, but this time my body fit against his, my head resting on his chest, feeling his pounding heart against my cheek. His hand traced lazy circles on my back, and I felt more at peace than I had in years. Above us, the meteors kept their silent dance across the sky. But now, I could actually appreciate them. I could see the beauty in them without the anxiety gnawing inside. I have no idea what happens now. I said into his chest. How this works. What we are. He pulled me tighter. Nobody knows, Lucas. Ever. We figure it out together. What if I mess it all up? Then we fix it. Or we don't. But at least we tried. At least we were honest. Honest. The word echoed inside me. Because that was it, wasn't it? For the first time ever, I was being completely honest. With him. With myself. I lifted my head to look at him, and met those dark eyes watching me with so much tenderness my chest tightened again. I want to try. The truest thing I've ever said. This. Us. Whatever we are. The smile that lit his face was worth every second of fear, every moment of doubt. So we try. He kissed me again, slower, deeper, all promise. I gave myself over completely. No fear, no walls. When we pulled apart, I rested my head on his chest. We watched the sky. The meteors were thinning now, the peak fading, but they still cut through the darkness, occasionally bright reminders that fleeting things matter most. When I got here today, I whispered, I was different. Raphael smiled. Not really. You just stopped hiding. Yeah. I smiled too. How does it feel? Fear and peace mixed together. Scary, I said, but free. Like I've been holding my breath forever and finally I can breathe. He kissed the top of my head, simple, heavy with meaning. My eyes burned. So breathe, Lucas. Just breathe. Stay here with me. We'll figure the rest out later. So I did. I breathed deep. Cold night air filling my lungs. Salt and earth in my nose. Waves and his heartbeat a rhythm just for us. Another meteor flashed overhead. I made a wish not to a distant star, but to myself. To the Lucas who'd been afraid for so long. I asked for courage, to stand firm, to be honest, even when it breaks me, to never let fear win again. And I asked for him, Raphael, who'd traveled far to find me, who'd waited while I battled myself, who'd whispered my name under meteors and rewrote my story. Hey Rafa, I mumbled, almost asleep. Thank you, for not giving up before I even started. I felt him smile against my hair. Never, Lucas. Not ever. And there on Star Beach, the last meteors fading, dawn breaking, we fell asleep. Together. Finally honest. I didn't know what came next. How I'd tell friends, family, if it'd be hard or terrifying or both. But one thing was certain. That night, on that beach, changed everything. The person who arrived hours ago was gone forever. Now I knew the truth. About him. Me. Us. And despite the fear, despite everything uncertain ahead, lying there with his hand in mine as the sun rose, I felt more whole, more real, more myself than ever. If you hear this, if you see yourself in this story, if you've spent nights wrestling with who you are, what you feel, whether it's right to love someone they told you not to want what you were taught to deny, I need you to know one thing. You're not alone. It's okay not to have answers. Okay to be scared. Okay to take time, to understand, to finally breathe. The meteors come back every year, always. But the person who whispers your name beneath them, who really sees you, who waits while you battle yourself, that's rare, once in a lifetime, Don't wait like I did. Don't run like I ran. When the truth hits, when it pounds in your chest demanding to be known, let it. Let it happen. Be honest. Because what we take from this life is only the truth of who we really were. I chose to be the most honest version of myself. Scary, hard, but free. And you can be too.